All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to this week's session 28 or 28th week, not consecutive week, but 20th week, 28th week that we've been doing this of unconventional wisdom on grief and loss. My name is Delilah De La Rosa. To my side here is Steven Morrison. He's the creator of Spiritual Workout, of which a lot of these principles we use in this unconventional wisdom on grief and loss sessions that we're having here. He's also the author of Grief and Loss in the New Age, An Extra Year, Grief and Loss in the New Age, which also lists plenty of these concepts all woven into this story of Stephen and his partner, Steve Duder, back in the early 2000s and what that extra year was like for Stephen and Steve Duder after Duder had passed. We came up with this whole series after the death of my mom back in November, on November 4th, 2024. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4, that was in August, 2.5 months later, passed away. And ever since, I think in January of last year, 2025, is when we started these sessions. And at first, I think up to the 20th session, we were going pretty consecutively.
Yeah,
And then we just
weekly.
did them as needed.
Right.
Live a little, align, experience, back
Rinse and repeat.
again. How are you doing today, Stephen?
Better than I look. I know I look very red for some reason. It's just,
It's not that Indian
I'm,
sun.
I'm not, yeah, I'm not like on fire sunburn, which is what it looks like in my screen. But thank you for asking. I'm quite well. I'm back from 2.5 months overseas. And
Yes.
uh,
And essentially, it's been 2.5 months. Well, our last session was back in early October, I believe.
I think so. So, yeah, more than 3 months since.
Yeah, yeah. A lot has happened.
All right. Well, we haven't spoken since. So I'm here for whatever you want to
A
talk
lot has happened.
about. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Right about this topic and beyond my mom's passing.
Yeah.
So um let's go back at the end of October, our last session. It was I was back in LA. I'm bi-coastal with my husband. We've been doing it for the past like almost 15 years for everything. And I was still out there, but at the end of October, I came out to New York and kind of gearing up for the
Right.
1 year death anniversary.
Right.
Because, yeah, November 4th,
Hmm.
Tuesday, 2025.
Coming back to me now.
Coming back. And I'm not sure, I can't remember if in that last session I was already sort of percolating with ideas about what to do.
You definitely were. That's what's coming back to me now.
Okay.
We were
Okay.
planning that, and it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we were in the middle of planning it, or was it just like brainstorming ideas? I can't remember.
You
It's
were. I
been
think
quite a
you
bit.
were more settled on an approach than not.
Okay.
Is-
So basically, I was organizing a 1 year remembrance dinner for my mother. And it was something that felt like an inspired idea.
Yes.
And yet executing that idea was feeling, just with some time beforehand, it was feeling I started getting a little nervous about it, and it was getting a little like feeling overwhelming a little bit. But I just went with the inspiration. It was just like everything's going to come together. It's totally fine. I think my husband, I think I had mentioned in the session that my husband really helped me sort of get a little more grounded in the idea and
Mm-hmm.
not feel so um, overwhelmed about like, am I spending too much money? And, is this responsible? Like, is it going to happen? Like, I don't have a small family because it's supposed to be for immediate family, but like immediate is like at minimum 25 people. So, it's just, and we're talking about New York, New Jersey area, so I was just getting a little caught up in the details, but was just, had some conversation, like really, set out the intention, put out the request about how I wanted to go about this 1 year remembrance dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So things were coming together, once I had that going. I arrived to New York at the end of October. Mind you, that we left Tuesday. We were going to leave earlier. However, and this is like a week before my mom's 1 year. And however, my husband got tickets to the World Series.
Oh, right.
And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is to set give you guys context as to what the hell was going on in my inner world at that time. So this is like a week before the 1 year since my mom passed away. Are you okay?
Yeah, I was just seeing if anything was in the comments. I'm sorry.
Oh, got it. It was just 1 year since it was a 1 week away from the 1 year, right? Since my remembrance thing for my mom. And but we were gonna leave a little bit earlier. However, my husband got tickets to the World Series, Dodgers against Toronto. And I'm not a Dodger
Dodgers fan.
But I'm actually a Mets fan, and they broke my heart in '88. Oh, actually, I should bring that up because this is what was going on in my head as I was feeling the way I was feeling. Okay. So, this is coming off the heels of having a really excellent prize fight boxing experience in Vegas. So I was just like, okay, World Series, why not? We're gonna push the date back just a day. Who cares? Like, I'm open, like I'm gonna flow. I'm gonna flow with this, right? And so I felt that way. However, come Monday, there was this swampy, grief-stricken feeling in my body. And I woke up that day. My husband didn't necessarily have the ticket secured from his original source. So he was going to go get it from another backup source. And at that time, I had asked him because I was feeling so heavy and just not in the space to go to the World Series, right?
Meanwhile, there are people who are dying
to do it. But I'm just telling you, that's how bad it was. Okay. That's how bad I felt, right? And I was like, whoa, like it just felt like like a truck hit me, kind of thing. And I just was like, woof, like what is going on here? And so I told him, I was like, you're sure that you want me to go? You can just go with your nephew, and he was like, no, I really want you to go, like this is the World Series. And I was like, okay, I initially was like, yeah, let's move our tickets. Let's just do this. So, all right, I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to do this with knowing my husband really wants me to go too. So I was just like, all right. And that's when I started trying to investigate a bit as to what may be behind this swampy, heavy feeling in my system. And I was just like, well, this was the last year of my mother's life, right? So maybe, the calendar, that's for folks that don't know, these are some of the things that came up in Steven's book, An Extra Year. Calendar, like certain dates that you may not really point to when you're feeling a certain type of way, and then you're like, oh wait, this at this time last
Yeah,
year.
you're not necessarily conscious of the
Right. You're
date.
not like, oh my God, this is the date that da 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 da. Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, calendar. And this was the last week. Last year, this was the last week of my mother's life
Mm-hmm.
here on this planet. So that may have something to do with this overwhelming thing, because it just felt like anticipatory grief, like how I felt during that time, right?
Yeah.
Um, and and then I was like, okay, maybe that's it, maybe that's just what it is. Just you made this commitment right now, you're gonna go, so just flow as best as you can. Um, Mind you, we weren't all the way finished packing either. So I was like, maybe there's a little bit of that going on too, like just feeling like, oh, okay, I wanna not pound myself with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was also the fact that like the Dodgers did beat the Mets in 88. And I was like, what am I doing? Like it was kind of like everything was kind of bringing me back to I was like, maybe there's a little bit of that going on. I don't know. It
We're in
was
the same boat on this one.
yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't know, maybe there's something going on there. So but I was just like, all right, I'm gonna go. This is the choice that I'm making. And I'm going. I didn't have to, even with my husband saying that. But I was just like, no, I'm gonna go. I did get most of the stuff packed, and it's okay. Like if I am feeling a bit down because of this or that or whatever, like fine, just roll with it, right? Do the best you can. Um, and I kind of felt like perhaps as I was there, once I got there, I would just sort of be in the game, just be in the game, whatever, not
Mhm.
get all, but no, it was pretty bad.
Mhm.
Like I was like, I had to just tell my husband, I was just like, I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling sad as fuck. Like, I don't know what's going on. But I cannot, like, I was just feeling, and then it was just even more like exacerbated by the fact that there were the thousands of fans. And on top of that, it happened to be the 18 inning game.
Oh, right. 2 games in 1.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah, that's brutal.
So after the game was done, it was another hour and a half, 2 hours after the game to get out of the freaking parking lot. I mean, I was not, I was like, oh, like I was crying in the car. Like I was really trying to stop it. I was just so overwhelmed with emotion and unease. And it was just like I felt like a lot of grief. Um and when we got home and I was like having to finish packing, I had a little mini meltdown. Um and I just was like, my mom and like what's going on with me, and I just had a mini meltdown. I was feeling really behind and also hurting in my body as I was like trying to finish packing. I was like, oh my God, this is like wading through the mud here, right? And but there was this one thing that I told myself that reminded me of this YouTuber that I follow, where she would say, and we have kind of like similar backgrounds. And she was just like, I just go by this thing that everything works out for me. Everything works out for me. Everything works out. And I just kept playing that over and over again. Because, like you say, Steven, in spiritual workout all the time, we're always thinking. We're
Yeah.
always thinking. And beliefs matter, right? So I started saying that, and that's where I got a bit of a second wind.
Good.
And I finished the packing, probably had about 3 hours of sleep. It's okay, because I felt like
But
I finished it.
I just want to stop. In that moment, you chose specifically something to believe. That belief made you feel better.
It did.
That's it. That's why
It
we're so
did.
conscious
I
of
was
what we
able to
believe.
access some relief here.
Yeah. Beliefs
because I
create
was just
experience.
overrun by sensations, beliefs. I don't know what was at work there, but now I'm kind of seeing, as I tell the story, more what it may have been as well. Okay, so we come. I was able to go and make the packing happen and everything. Um, Part of that mini meltdown was not just that sensation and the heaviness that I was carrying from that day, the start of the day, but there was also that I couldn't really pinpoint exactly where it was coming from. But there was also like the cascade of uh um uh disempowering thoughts. Um, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if I should put these shoes in here because what if they lose my luggage? What if this is the time that they lose my like it was going into that, and that's when I had the meltdown. Okay? And that's when it was like everything works out for me, came up, really nicely front and center. When we got to the airport, that bit of that luggage with that suitcase that I was thinking, I was like, I don't want to put the shoes in there. First of all, the luggage was delayed. It was on the other flight, but it wasn't that far off. It was like a 45-minute that was coming in within 30 minutes or something. So I was like, okay. But then I didn't see that luggage in the documentation of where the luggage was. And I was like, no. Right. But then I was just like, everything works out for me. I went right into that. All the luggage came. Okay. Um, so I'm just giving you some more stories. So we get to New York, things, we managed to power right through, get here to New York. And I was just preparing myself on all levels, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, for this 1 year remembrance dinner. I also had a gala for one of the high
All right.
school placement programs that I was part of, that was taking place that Thursday. We came in on Tuesday, had the gala on Thursday, and then the remembrance dinner for my mom the following Tuesday. That Thursday morning, my one of my best friend, my sister friend's husband, I got news that he died. And that was a bit of a shock. He died of a cardiac arrest. She sent me a text, that Thursday morning. It happened, I guess, Wednesday evening. That Thursday morning, I got the text from her and I was like, is this a joke? Like, what is happening here? But then she doesn't play like that. And I was like, is her husband playing like that? I don't think so. They never do this. What's happening? Oh my God. And then I finally confirmed that it was in fact true. And it was definitely a whirlwind. They're of the Muslim faith, so they bury their deceased within 3 days. And everything was just super fast. My friend has 3 daughters that were all between the ages of 10 and 14, very close with their father. And he was just 46. Just not something that we ever thought we ever saw coming at all, right? Like, I just did not think about that. Because my thought was like, here I am just getting adjusted to the deceased parent club. And now we're kind of being ushered into the deceased partner club, and it just brought up a lot for me. One of the things that it brought up was that anticipatory grief. I think there was something in me that felt this was coming. Not him in particular, but there was just some that 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 the way that I felt that Monday, the World Series,
Yeah.
was very similar to how I felt the week leading up to my mom's death.
Yeah.
And, and on top of that, um, I was thinking about death and I was thinking about loss, obviously, right? And that Wednesday, like Tuesday going on Wednesday, right? Before I
Mhm.
heard of the news, before I heard of this news, I was thinking about um, how ever since my husband's mom passed away over 20 years ago, that was sort of like the impetus for me to always make sure that my loved ones know that I love them, that I've always show that, like, I make it a point spending quality time with people because you never know, right? And, just to make sure of that, and that was one of the blessings that I got from that experience, was
Mhm.
that I think it was a factor as to why I had such a quality relationship with my mom over the years, because it was very intentional. It wasn't just something. Yes, it was something that I carried with me since childhood. We were always very close, but it was much more intentional, right? Ever since my husband's mom's passing. Um, but it had me thinking about, whether it was normal, whether it was healthy, serving me to yes, it's good to have that practice, but I also don't want to do these things out of fear. For example, if I am annoyed with my partner, with my husband, we have a disagreement, and I don't want to be ruled by fear in case I'm not ready to discuss the thing. If we need to, like, just be like, you know what, we need a little space here, and I'm a little ornery right now. And there's always, I feel the energy is one of fear, that, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want ever want to leave on bad terms in the event that something happens to him. And so I was thinking of asking my friend before this happened. Okay, before I heard this news, I was thinking of talking about it with her because, she had her things with her husband. And so I was thinking, I wanted to ask her if that ever crossed her mind when she would feel like, oh my God, he's so fucking annoying or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, if that ever crossed, I just wanted to gauge it, I guess.
Mhm.
And then I got the news of that happening. So this is why I'm saying it was like, I was like, whoa. And I got a little freaked out about it because I was like, the synchronicity there,
Yeah.
and that energy and, just how familiar it felt. Um, just a very grief-stricken body, like, system experience before it actually happening.
Yeah.
Um, so I got a little freaked out about it, but I think it was you as well as somebody else that I spoke to, around that time, uh, where, um, you know, eh, I don't have a say in I don't have a say in your experience. And yeah, it was somebody else who said to me, like, if you think it's a sign or you're forecasting something, then you'll know. Like, you will know, like, if it's a sign or whatever, like, you will know that. Um, uh, so the remembrance dinner was, we had the whole, like, ceremony and everything. Everything was really beautiful. with my, friend's husband's burial, his ceremony. It was really beautiful. If anything, it really felt like the way that my friend was handling everything felt very reminiscent to how I felt, or how I was during that time. Um, just in terms of like, we were still able to like laugh on the phone. She's one of those people that like we'll be up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and we were able to like have one of those conversations as it happened, and we're able to laugh and everything. And it was very similar to how it was when my mom passed away. Um, one of those things where it's like we have sometimes a little anxiety with the anticipation of certain things or what if bad scenarios. And then when something does strike, we definitely rise to the occasion. She and I share that quality, right? That's why we're sister friends. Tuesday comes along, my mom's 1-year remembrance dinner, and everything was really, flowed really well. I was really happy that I did that because all of the family that was there was, you could tell that they felt really grateful that we did this too.
Yeah.
You know, um, and that we were covering everything. But I actually felt good in doing that too. Like, it was just like, just be here for my mom. You know what I mean? Like, not to mention, I just didn't really know, what I was gonna do during the holidays with family, like whether I was gonna spend it, with my dad and, this kind of thing. So it was really good to do that with my mother's side of the family. Um, and it went pretty smoothly, and after that, I kind of got into a little bit of an existential um journey in my inner world here. I think that I was feeling a lot of shock during that time. Like I said, it was like adjusting to another newer reality, where it was just like, oh my God, like Solly died. Like, what? And on the one hand, the fact that it was kind of close to when my mom passed away, just somebody of that, on that level to pass away, like I felt like I was able to be a great resource for my friend and her family. I definitely rose to the occasion, I helped her like, get the word out, her contacts. I helped clean up a bit of the house because they found him in the house and everything, when paramedics come in, they kind of leave things as is, and we didn't want her to come back to the house with that. So, I did that and I felt good doing that. I really felt good doing that. But yeah, it's just like after the fact, I think it was just feeling um grief uh over my friend and the family, you know, more so than, like we always say, it's like you're in a place of no resistance, you're in a good place, or that's what we're choosing to believe here. Um, but just the abrupt nature of it all, just your life completely changing from one day to the next, um, is just shocking, you know? And the thing I felt like, there was a lot of acceptance, which I've had plenty of practice with because of my mom's passing. And I also noticed that there was a bit of anger there for me too. So it was kind of like, I know anger and acceptance don't really live
Usually.
together, can't really coexist. So that's why I say there was a lot of acceptance and a lot of trying to work it out to get to that place of accepting. But I saw that I still have a little bit of mm, that I still ask these questions about who gets to stay and who doesn't, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and I always go back to knowing that I don't have a say in this. We don't know everyone's journey, you know? And also, why is death or passing wrong or a bad thing too? Like, there's just so many layers to that we've talked about in this series, Um, and yet they were still there, right? They were still
Mhm.
there, and I was emoting a bit off of it too, because it just felt, and this is a judgment, I know, it just didn't feel fair. Um, however, life cannot be fair according to your judgment, what you think is fair or not, or just, but life is what it is. And that's just what it is. I mean, why it happened? Because it happened. Um, and so I always got back to that place,
Mhm.
and yet I also wanted to give within a padded room space to question a little bit because it was coming up for
Sure.
me,
Sure.
and I was charged by it. So it was like, what is this telling me? What am I, Um, and yeah, I just noticed how there were, yeah, those thoughts, those ideas were coming up pretty strongly. um and it was a kind of a tussle between feeling that and then going back to like, I don't have a say in this, you know um this is not my journey, and that's that. You know what I mean? There's so many ways in which we can see this, right? But with that said, I also still felt it coming up pretty much throughout the holiday season. Um, this past holiday season was not technically the first holiday season that I spent with my mom not here on earth. Um, Technically that was in 2024 at the end.
Right.
However, I don't really count that so
Fair
much
enough.
because it was kind of like a big blur in a way,
Yeah.
right? And so I felt like this past holiday season was really like the first holiday season without
Yeah.
her, and it was hard. It was hard. Um,
How so?
and I'm gonna explain how it was hard. So, that's why I brought up this whole thing because, like I said, that death, that passing, my best friend's husband, sort of brought up a lot of these, I guess, lingering questions, right? Like lingering ideas, sentiment that I have over like who gets to stay, who doesn't, and whether that's fair or not, or like I noticed I was like, my mom, she just minded her own business, freaking like did all the things for her health, you know what I mean? Was a sweetheart, was warm and funny and freaking cool as hell. What? And then this freaking bozo is like wreaking havoc. Freaking menace, Sale, my best friend's husband, freaking paramedic for over 20 years, like Boy Scout leader or whatever they call them, like a real pillar of the community. I mean, his service, it was just a beautiful what people had to say about him, right? And I know personally, like the way he was with his daughters and everything, and like how many acts of service that he did for people, right? And then this bozo is like wreaking havoc and menace to the fucking society. Who gets to say who doesn't, causing self-harm, like everything, like taking care of themselves, you know.
Some people would say who gets to go and who doesn't.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. It's like I'm aware of that too, right? It's like we're making a judgment off of like who gets to stay being a good thing, who goes a
Or
bad
better.
thing, right? And so I understand that. But and I also recognize this is coming from a point of view of physical loss. Okay.
Yeah.
Physical absence, and I was really feeling it this holiday season. So that kind of set the stage up for that a bit of, that percolating those ideas, thoughts, emotions, right? Sensations. And my aunt, my mom's sister invited us over for Thanksgiving. It was really cool. It was fine. But I was just feeling a little bit like not that something was off, but just that something wasn't complete. Like there was, and I couldn't quite, I mean, sure, my mom, physical absence. Okay. But there was just this sort of like, the feeling was like an incomplete picture. That's, just being honest here, right? That was the feeling that I had. And I also remembered, I was like, okay, Delilah, what always makes you feel better is to focus on the spiritual gain and not the physical loss, right? Because that's when I feel bad, and, think about the spiritual gain, that my mom is more powerful, you know. And she gets to be everywhere now, you know. And as she gets to like affect my life in so many other ways now. Um so when I think about that, I'm like, okay, I feel like uplifted and I feel good and like more expansive. Um However, I don't want to deny some of the things that was coming up because it did feel a little incomplete and a little less colorful, you know. Um and I was just like, okay, I want to acknowledge that. Um I want to acknowledge that and also acknowledge the spiritual gain, right?
Yeah.
Which really helped a lot, but I just didn't want to repress, deny anything that was coming up for me, and also I just didn't want to stay stuck there either, right? Like make it a home, right? And it naturally flowed to think about the spiritual gain. It was not like I was forcing myself, it naturally flowed. And then my husband and I, we went to Mexico to his family's hometown. We went to Guadalajara for a couple of days, and then his family's hometown, which and that was like, we did that for about 2 weeks leading up to Christmas Eve, which is when we celebrate Christmas. And I decided to like I said, when my mom was alive, we would always spend the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas with my mom's side of the family, right? And, and especially since my parents separated over 25 years ago, that's always been the case. So I never spent Thanksgiving or Christmas with my dad or his side of the family. We would see each other and, speak with each other, but that was like the long-standing thing. And then I continued to do that last year. Um, but this year I was thinking that I wanted to spend Christmas with my dad, not to mention his birthday's on the 25th, Christmas Day. So, um, and he's moved into the apartment that my mom was living in for the 30 years. Um, and and I don't know, I just felt like I wanted to do that, and I'd said that to my aunt 'cause she invited us over again for Christmas, and I was just like, "I'm gonna spend it with my dad this time, but I hope you guys have a good time?" And that was a good thing. When I was over in Mexico, Mexico was the last trip that my mom had and we did it together for her 65th birthday in 2023. And we had a blast. We had the time of our lives, just touring different towns in Mexico, going to my husband's hometown, family's hometown, being in the house that he reconstructed in honor of his mom, who passed away over 20 years ago. So, I think going into that trip, there was a little bit of emotion, a bit of charge because I was thinking it was because that was the last trip I took with my mom, and out there and it was like a trip of a lifetime, right? And when I was over there were some moments that I had where I felt like, "Oh, man, this is where my mom was, and, she was right here in this house, and da 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 da." We also saw her favorite saint at one of the churches over there in one of the towns out there. Her favorite saint, San Martin de Porres over there. He's a Peruvian saint, Black Peruvian saint. And that's when I started getting a bit verklempt because I was like, "Oh, damn." I was like, "Okay." And yet I didn't feel like, I just want to be clear that I didn't feel a void, but I also felt, and the best way I could describe it was like an incomplete picture, right? And I was like, "What is going on? Like, what is that about? Why is that feeling like it's incomplete?" And uh and that's all I could really say about that, at the time when I was over there, right? And it was coming up for me. When we celebrated Christmas Eve, Christmas with my dad, right when we got back from Mexico, I was like dead tired. We just celebrated, it was just really low key. My dad, his girlfriend, Nilka, my husband, myself, and my brother, right? And it was just us. And it was so nice because it was so chill. Like we were exhausted after Mexico, right? And my brother was exhausted too because he did some 2 world trips, like right before that. And so it was just like, wow, this is really good. And my father's girlfriend is a really great cook. And so she was like, did like a Dominican banquet. Like it was spectacular. And I'm not used to that because this is the first time that since my parents separated, that I spent it with my father, and like Dominican stuff, it's usually Peruvian customs. And so it was delicious. It was chill. It was low key. It was perfect for that time, you know? And I got to see what Michael and I, my brother and I, what we picked up from our mom and what we picked up from our dad. And I got to see that my mom's worldliness,
Mhm.
My dad, and there's nothing bad. I mean, it's just, him and his girlfriend, Nilka, they're content with just keeping it New York and the Caribbean. Like even my husband was like, if nothing, nobody could tell you no, and you want to go anywhere in the world, where will you go? And he was like, maybe Mexico, maybe. And my brother my brother and I were like, oh my God. And then my father proceeds to say that, like, Doris, my mom's name, was like, he was like, she was very much a um she was like a museum, my dad said. She was like really she was all about that, like really like learning about other cultures and all of that. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool. That wasn't him though.
Right.
And that's when like Michael and I was like, wow, we really get that from our mom, you know? And I was just like thinking about these qualities, right? That really stand out to me. I think one, after her passing, because now when she was here, it was just really
Yeah.
normalized, and not that you take it for granted, but it was just so normal that it didn't stand out because it was always there, right?
Mhm.
And so, seeing like that quality of worldliness that my mom had, I was just like, I'm so blessed that, because I really value that,
Mhm.
an openness, a worldliness and stuff. I really, really value that. And I was just like, my mom was so freaking cool, man. Like, she was so freaking cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so blessed to have had a mom like that, you know? Like just, the African street, like the Senegalese, West African, like festival on 116th over here. Like, she
Mhm.
would go with me and just be like looking at the dancing and the food and you know what I mean? Like in Mexico, she was like walking 8 miles in like Mexico City to get her coconut water. Like these things that I was like, damn, like that was so freaking cool, my mom.
Mm.
Um, and that's when a lot of these things it started becoming a little bit clearer to me as to the incomplete picture. And what it was, or what it is that, you know, with my mom, there was that worldliness, right? Like that thing that I got from my mom in
Mhm.
particular, that open-mindedness, open-heartedness, the worldliness that she had. And I missed that, in a parent, in a mom, and in that kind of dynamic. I missed that. Um, the warmth. And I think I mentioned this before in our previous sessions, but her warmth, that even though I may not be someone that may attract that, like, oh, sweetie, like I may not necessarily attract that because of my tough exterior. Because of my tough exterior, I may not necessarily like, attract the type of like, oh, Delilah, like, oh, sweetie. Even though my acupuncturist in LA does say that to me, which I appreciate. I don't take it wrong. Like, I actually
Mm.
like it. But that warmth, like, no matter what, I was still her baby. I was still her daughter.
Mhm.
And it was like she always gave me warmth, you know? But this other thing came up that I was like, "Oh, that's why Mexico felt partly why it felt the way it did, is that my mother was also a means for me to magnify my experiences."
Mm.
Okay, so even if she didn't make it out there with me, in Mexico in Mexico, this time around, right? Even if she weren't to have been on the trip with me,
Mhm.
had she been here, still living, um, I would have FaceTimed her, like, and be like, "Oh my God, mommy, look at what we're doing, look at what we're eating," and not have any restraint because I know she knows that I'm not trying to brag.
No, and she's
I don't
enjoying
feel like I have
with
to
you and
don't want to make you feel bad because you're going bankrupt or some shit. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like they don't think it's like, damn, bitch, read the room. Like I felt really at ease in magnifying this because no matter what, even if she wasn't in a great mood, she would still be happy because I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so she was such a like big part of my magnifying,
Yeah.
and it not seeming like I'm bragging or inconsiderate of, you know what I mean, somebody
Yeah.
else's situation, you know? Because I think that we do take that into account. I mean, some people don't care, like they they just go off and, it's like, "Hey, I love my life, I love everything," and then somebody's like, "Oh my god, my husband just died," and, like, out of the blue, and is like, "Okay," you know? Um, but with my mom, it was never like that, and I was always, like, at liberty to magnify my experiences, and that's what felt I was like, "Oh, okay, that was another thing that I felt was, like, kinda missing here." So,
Mm-hmm.
um, these days since the new year, um, what I've been experiencing is, one, I was feeling really burnt out, after the just since coming back from LA, my best friend's husband passing away so abruptly, 1 year remembrance dinner, going into the first real holiday season without my mom here, um, going on this trip to Mexico, which was just like, it just felt like it was like a pounding of, a lot of pushing too, like a lot of efforting here. And I'm like kaput, right? Beginning, like, it was like, what are we doing for New Year's? Nothing. I can't. Like, nothing. Like, my dad was like, I thought you were gonna come. Nothing. I was like, even when mommy was alive, I still didn't spend New Year's. I was like, I'm not doing anything. Nathan, okay? Like, nothing. Nada. Can't do anything right now. Not even go across the street for a dinner. I cannot do this. Like, my body, my system was like done. Okay. And I just looked forward to having a bit of time of staying put somewhere and just resting, reflecting, intention setting, that time for myself. Right. Um, and in that time, um, and I love the fact that you sent me this post by Gary Zukov about the energy isn't gone. But that's exactly where I'm having the issue, Steven. Because what I've been saying and what it's been feeling like is that I miss my mother's energy. Like I don't feel I just don't feel that energy. I don't know what people are necessarily talking about, but to me, it's like I miss her energy.
Have you felt it at all since she died?
Well, yeah, I mean, I felt like when I would see her in my dreams,
Mm-hmm.
I still see rainbows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's about it.
Are you, and this is an ongoing conversation, so I'm sort of checking in and then reminding, are you talking to her?
Yeah, I did when I was in Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and I just felt like really low at one point. Just my body was hurting and I was just feeling a little like in fear kind of mode. just on edge. And I was just like, "Mom, like, if you could just help me here," like, you know, asking for some help
Did you
and
get it?
guidance and guidance.
Did you get it?
Um, well, yeah, in the sense that, like, when it came to packing to leave, like, I was able to do that, pretty in a flow,
Hmm.
and I didn't leave, like, hurting like crazy, like, it
Hmm.
was, so there was that, and there was also, like, a feeling of, like, deep, 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 deep down inside of, this is, something that you're gonna move through,
Hmm.
you know? And that is just a little thick right now. It's a little muddy right
Yeah.
now, and you're tired,
So
you know?
you could probably clear some of that, lighten your load somewhat, with some tapping on that particular idea. So just as a quick demo, it would go maybe like, so even though I'm really missing my mom's energy and it seems like I can't feel it, I love and accept myself completely, even though I'm really missing it and it seems like it's not available to me. I'm choosing to realign with my desire for two-way communication with my mom, even though it's kind of thick these days. And it's just been a while since I've really felt connected to her energy. I'm choosing here and now to do what I can to open myself up to it.
Thank you for that. I didn't really think about tapping my way into that. So I
Well,
really
because some of the thickness is just, you know, belief. It's not here, she's not here, I can't feel her, whatever's wrapped up in it for you. And as you start to do that, you'll see we're just starting with the resistance.
Okay. Yeah. I'm wondering, do you think that perhaps the resistance or that not being able to feel her energy, that's the best way I can describe it,
I get it.
you
So,
know?
and the piece that I'm looking at, I just wouldn't want you to lock in that belief. That's the way it is in this moment. Fair enough. That's why I would start right there with the tapping, like I was just demonstrating. But I also want to caution you, quote unquote, from locking in that belief that I can't. I
Okay.
can't. I can't feel it. I can't connect with her. I can't have that experience. Whatever little or a lot of that might be in there. There's obviously at least a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I think it's a little bit because on the one hand, I'm just stating what's happening
Well,
right now,
exactly, which is
right?
why that's where the tapping
I
comes
don't
in.
necessarily feel like I believe that it's always gonna be like
I
this.
don't think so either, and I
Yeah.
just want to make
But
sure.
I think that
But
that's good that you're saying just to because maybe there's a little bit undergirding that, of maybe not ever kind of thing, right?
yeah, and you
Like,
just want to cut it off at the pass, basically, and
yeah,
just be like, yeah, that's what it feels like today. So I'm just going to tap through this for a little bit and remind myself and realign with just staying open to she and I, how and when I feel truly connected with her and
right.
really feel her energy and know that it's her energy.
Yes. 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 I was wondering if perhaps the right now inability to connect to that right now,
Hmm.
if it had to do with anything if it had anything to do with, the, those thoughts and ideas of who gets to stay and who doesn't, because they were coming up, and I was wondering if that was keeping me in non-acceptance mode, which doesn't allow me to access that. Like, I was wondering because one of the things that did occur in Mexico that I was like, oh, it kind of reignited that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Was when my husband's cousin, he was like practically on the brink of death because of liver failure about a couple of years ago due to a drinking problem, excessive drinking, and uh, and he was able to overcome the drinking and stuff. And he was telling me how he saw this as an opportunity to make that change, because when he went to the doctors, right when they were like, look, dude, like you need to get yourself checked out, like what's going on with you, that he just came out with like a cirrhosis that was like a regenerative type of cirrhosis. So it was like the least um fatal, least uh I don't know what the word is, but it's something that's more repairable. You can regenerate the
Mm-hmm.
liver, right? And that he was saying that, like, yeah, like that's what I went to the doctor like when I was like really doing a lot of self-harm, and I was so fortunate enough to just come out with this because nothing with my pancreas. And when he said that, I was like, ugh, right? And was feeling conflicted because on the one hand, I was really happy for him. It's not like I wanted him to have the worst diagnosis or anything like that. Like, I'm happy
Right.
for him, happy for his family,
Mm-hmm.
happy for my husband. It's one of his close cousins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm wishing him badly or anything like that. It just made me think like, damn,
Well,
like
yes. So
it brought that up. It brought it up.
yeah, fair enough. It just is. But for sure, it's the energy of that whole battery of thoughts and beliefs is would shut down clear communication if it's already kind of wobbly to begin with, because it's just untruth. It's just a lot of untruth. It's not, we're not criminals for entertaining those thoughts, but spiritually speaking, it's like, oh yeah, that's just not true. So I can imagine just from my perspective that that energy would also help to dampen your communication in that time, because that just those two
Because
things.
it's what is, like,
Yeah,
it's already done, and it's just
right.
not.
And
Yeah.
those two ideas don't coexist. The it's not fair. It's wrong.
Right.
Something went wrong.
It's
Or
also in the past, you
well, for
know?
sure. Yeah.
It's also in the past, right? Um, that's not forward,
Yeah.
with what is right now and in the future, which is that my mom's in a different dimension,
Right.
different form.
Right.
And yeah, I was thinking that too. Um, that might also be something there that I have to let go of. Um,
Well, and I think that's part and parcel of the tapping. So what we did before was just to set up. Delilah's very schooled and practiced in tapping, so we didn't go. She knows what to do with that, but that would be some of what would come up too, I would imagine, while you're doing
yeah,
tapping.
yeah.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
So I just think this book, it was kind of newly introduced to my on my radar. The author isn't, and I know not to you either. But do you know this?
I know, Donna. Yeah.
This
I don't know
I
this
know
book.
I didn't know this book either, but it came very, you know, it was referred to by a trusted source for me anyway. And this was his first book was Conversations with God.
Right.
That's what got this whole ball rolling. And this is more recent. If he published that one in, I don't know, 93-ish, and this one I think is published in 2006, so more than 12 years afterwards. So, Home with God in a Life That Never Ends. And so this conversation, it's the same format, and it's all 100% focused on what happens when we die, what's the ways in which through so many of our teachings and religions we've sort of not grasped, as I've been saying for decades, what this is really all about. And I don't know, I think it's a pretty nice take on the whole situation. It's an easy format to read, and it might be helpful to you right now because it helps with those questions about the unfairness and, doing all the right things and still whatever, and being young or being old, and who goes when and why and all that.
Yeah, because I was
And
I
it
was
really, it addresses all of that.
that was something that like I said, this month, a lot of the stuff has been coming up in terms of like the missing her energy.
Yeah.
Lots of thoughts and emotions, ideas that really speak to physical loss, her physical absence. And also, I think about the spiritual gain again. Like I'm still keeping that emotion, within me. Because it actually really does make me feel good. It's like it makes me feel better a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is why I think there's that I feel it even more so, that missing her energy because of that, right? It's like I
Yeah.
want to be connected, right? Um, but and as that's been coming up, like there's just some memories that I'll have of like the other day, I was looking at my um so my dentist actually ended up also died in November from brain cancer. He had like a
Mm.
6-month thing with brain cancer. And he ended up dying. We got the news through another practitioner that I work with. And I was like, what? And I actually had such a beautiful conversation with him after my mom passed away.
I
You
think I
know,
remember you telling me that.
yeah, and he was just like, like there's something that still continues on. He was just so gracious and so beautiful in the way that he treated me after learning the news. And so when I got received the news, I was like, what? Um, and so I got an email from the office introducing the new dentist with his blessing, the new dentist that was going to take over. And that email made me think of my mom's dental problems. Like this is like the weird ways in which like stuff comes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just started crying because I was thinking about like, one of the last things that she dealt with um uh before she, got her diagnosis was like a new tooth surgery type of thing, And so she was like, so her actual tooth like out, under her dresser, and that just made me cry, like I just felt so sad. Um Thinking about her and her dental issues, it was just like, what? Um uh but one of the things, oh, this is so good for us to actually for me to bring up.
Okay.
Um when I This was like spiritual gain also, but also like seeing it from a certain perspective. Because after Soleh, my best friend's husband dying, all these questions were coming up and like, oh my God. And, like the idea of my mom suffering as she was leaving this plane came up pretty strongly, and it was so heavy. Um, and I just and then the idea came up, and this is after asking my mom for help, all right, during this time, one of those times that I asked her for help. "Please, mom, help me see this, differently," or,
Mhm.
"Give me a sign," or whatever. Um, and as I was in the middle of kind of like spiraling into the suffering and like, my mom suffering and stuff, and then there was this download, this thought of, well, I wouldn't characterize my mom's life as a life of suffering, ever. Neither would she.
Right.
As a matter of fact, Saleh wouldn't characterize his life as a life of suffering. Neither would Nora, my friend, neither would his family. No. And I know this for a fact. I am 100% certain of this. As a matter of fact, my mom lived a very good life, actually.
Yeah.
And Soleil, like they like took care of themselves. They have to, like actually like a good life. Um, but just going recognizing that fact, magnifying that fact too,
Hmm.
made me feel so much better. So much better. Because I got into the, kind of spiraling into the suffering,
There
the
you go
suffering.
again, choosing on purpose what to think, choosing a better feeling thought.
But this was like it really like I was 100% certain about it. It didn't even feel like I was choosing that to believe it. I was
Well,
choosing
you didn't
to.
have to force yourself, but you flipped the switch.
Right. There was some choosing in that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it was also like it felt like I was receiving inspired, like a download to cut that line of thinking,
Good.
right? Like a little bit of the two-way communication here,
Yeah.
because I was going into the like, why the suffering, right? Like, really, like, why did my mom, like, damn. But then I was like, but I would never character. And I was like speaking out loud, crying and speaking out loud with my mom and the divine, and that came up. And I know that for a fact, like in and out, wholeheartedly, thoroughly, no questions asked. There's no way that my mom would think that she led a life of suffering,
Right.
you know? And not to say that she never suffered, right? Or that she
Not
didn't
the
have her
point.
hard times,
Right.
right?
Right.
However, who am I to say that she can't have a hard time? This is a human experience, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's
Like
her journey.
like
It's
I just remember the times when like people would be like, "No, don't suffer, don't be in a bad mood or whatever." And it's just like, "Get off me. It's going to pass." It's going to pass. So like that thought allowed me to go into that. Like, who am I to say that? No, mom, you can't suffer.
good.
So I wanted to bring that up because that was definitely a gem in these last months or so as I'm
Yeah.
like in there.
Well, and it
Um,
certainly sounds like you just kind of touched on it, two-way communication, that
yeah,
some inspiration came and you
yeah,
just go like, oh, like snap out of it, you know?
yeah, yeah. Like it was just like oh, okay. I think that was communication here, because it was able to because like I know this. I know this for a fact. Like I know that it's not even like, oh, let me choose to think this. Yes, that's been done. But do you know what I mean? It's like, oh,
We
wait,
didn't have to force yourself once you
right.
made the switch. It's
Yeah.
sometimes
There
we're
was no
cultivating it
forcing.
and
It
we're
was an absolute like, no, this is a given. Like, never will characterize my mom's life as a life of suffering. Like, absolutely not. Right. So that in a nutshell has been
very large
sort of a
nutshell.
recap here. Yeah, very large one. Because a lot has happened, with respect to this topic, grief and loss, since we've last spoken. I mean, now it's like another person, right, that is in the mix. Actually, two other people, because my dentist died too, right? And it's just like, what? And like his whole office is also like, this is a shock to us all. Like, we're like, what is, happening here? But they're still moving on and adjusting to this new reality.
Yeah.
Um uh so yeah, that's the recap. And I think right now the soul work here is to tap on that two-way communication. Because I want to.
And if you need any help with that, of course, let me
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to look at the recording
Okay.
to kind of get the little starter here.
Yeah.
Um, to get a bit of a starter here, and then also go into some of the things that I think, some of the things that may be posing some acting as resistance to this.
Like that family of thoughts and beliefs around
Fairness, who gets to stay, who doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the last thing I wanted to add here is I guess due to what I've been experiencing, what I've been feeling, it's been I've been pretty hesitant, reluctant to engage in and with the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm noticing that, any kind of commitments, I don't feel at ease. Right? It's like I'll wake up, and if I have commitments, whether it's meeting with someone coming over, or just something that I have on my plate, I notice that I just wake up feeling a little like dread.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the days that I don't have anything to do, I feel normal, right? Um, when I spoke to someone else on my care team, because I was thinking, I was like, maybe it's just, is this grief from the past couple of years, like just readjusting, and I'm just in that process, which is why it's been kind of hard for me, it's been feeling a little harder to engage in and with the world with ease.
Mm-hmm.
um And he told me that actually grief makes the things that are the culprits more pronounced. Right. And I was like, oh, there we go again. And I know exactly what those culprits are. Not enough. Not enough. And I did ask my mom if she can help me with that.
Good. Good.
Because I know that it wasn't just something that it was something that I did inherit,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so, that's something that I've been asking. But I wanted to ask you if you felt that that was the case.
The magnifying from grief of culprits.
Yeah.
I suppose I personally, even as a or especially as a practitioner, and I think you know this, um, tend to get lost in a lot of verbiage that people use repeatedly.
Okay.
So grief is one of those things. So I'm already, I mean, to me, grief is not a thing. It's just a result of certain beliefs, just like anxiety or guilt or shame or any of these things. So
So the sadness that I feel or that
Hmm.
grief that I feel, I think is having to do with the missing my mom's energy.
Fair enough. And so I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying it's different for every person. So
Right.
I don't have an automatic assumption of knowing what you mean when you say grief. So I get lost in that, and the idea that there might be some underlying emotion that then makes other things more pronounced just from the perspective of everything being energy. Well, sure, that makes sense. There's nothing to argue with there. But my argument might be, if anything, what are we talking about with the grief and why are we carrying that around? Because I've come to believe it's not necessary.
That grief is not necessary?
Yeah, grief is the meaning that we're making of what happened.
Mhm.
All. And that's what we're doing all day, every day. So we're not criminals ever for having any of the thoughts or beliefs that we have. But when we realize that we are feeling the effects of certain families of thought and belief, and those effects are unpleasant, then why continue to have them? Because we
Mhm.
don't have to. That's where we say all the time the healing occurs in the belief system of the person seeking the healing. So I personally hear and engage conversations all the time about grief and guilt and anxiety and depression and all of it. And my work is about, okay, now what? And do we want to maybe not have this condition all the time? My anxiety is a big example of that. You know,
Mhm.
I'm the guy who's like, oh, you have anxiety? Well, we know how to not have anxiety. But everybody's walking around now talking about my anxiety, not even looking for a solution because they accept it as a fact of life. And I'm like, okay, I guess there's nothing for me to do here.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know? So that's not a judgment about guilt or anxiety or grief or any of it. It's just I'm I ask people to don't assume that I know what you mean by that. Let's get into it, and then maybe I can be of more service. But I'm having this conversation a lot now, and it used to not happen at all.
Mm.
And that, if you ask me, is 100% this.
Yeah.
100%, because it didn't happen before this.
The conversation about grief or any of these
Grief, anxiety, guilt, shame. Now everybody's like locked into, oh yeah, that's it.
psychoanalyzing
I have
themselves.
anxiety. Let's go have a
Identifying.
drink, and I want to tell you about my anxiety, and you tell me
Right.
about yours, and we'll just keep. And I'm like, hey, you want to not have anxiety? And they don't see or hear me because they're not even looking for that. It's taken as a given, and that's just the moment that we're in, and that's just how it looks from my practice over time, before and after social media. I mean, that's just one example. So the
Yeah.
question, if somebody is quote unquote in grief, would that magnify um, other issues? Well, sure, because the grief itself is clearly a vibration, a frequency of a lower uh,
Mm.
variety. So it's going to attract to it other lower variety. Everything's energy attracting like energy. So from that perspective, it's just physics. Of course it would. But it's predicated. My personal discomfort is, well, what's the grief? What is the grief? What is that?
When I think about the sensation, I guess what I talk about when I think about grief and when I say grief, I
Hmm.
I not only talk about the beliefs that may be behind the grief or beneath the
Hmm.
grief, but also the sensation. It
Right.
feels very heavy on the heart,
Yeah.
throat even, solar plexus a little bit, but mainly over here in the heart. There's like this
Hmm.
swampiness
Yeah.
in my
Well,
body.
so, and all I'm saying is none of us are having those emotions without a thread to a belief or a series of beliefs.
Yeah, and I think that it was driven by these thoughts or ideas of like, I I miss my mother's energy.
Yeah. But I would, that's the experience you're having, which is a little different from a belief about it. So that's what we
A
were getting
belief
at
about
earlier.
perhaps whether I'm gonna connect to it or not.
Right. It
Yeah,
might be elusive. It
doubting,
might never happen.
a
That's
little
what we were
doubt,
talking about with the
right.
test.
And then also the resistance coming from who gets to stay, who doesn't, a little bit of
But
that,
that,
right?
yeah, exactly. Exactly. This is exactly what we were talking about before. But when you talk about the sensation of it, I don't focus on the sensation because I know the root of it is in the thinking, conscious or
Mhm,
otherwise. That's just how it's designed. So I'm always looking for what weed can we pull up from the root to not have the weed anymore. And a lot of people are just talking about the weed.
right, right. No,
And
I
that's
definitely.
okay. I'm in the business of hopefully facilitating some healing when that's what's desired.
Mhm, mhm,
And in the work of mindset, healing occurs in our belief systems.
mhm,
That's just the way it is.
mhm. Gotcha.
Unconventional, you might say.
I know.
Because
There's some people who are saying that we used to think that thoughts, generated the emotions, but now they're saying that, no, it's the nervous system that dictates a lot of that. And I'm
why?
like, "Okay, but isn't your nervous system influenced or driven by the thoughts maybe?" I don't yeah, it's just like
That's another example. Nobody used to talk about their nervous systems.
I've been talking about that for a minute now, okay?
But I'm saying
Before it became trendy, guys. No, I'm
when
kidding.
I started my practice, not one single person ever,
No.
ever, ever talked about their nervous system, about being regulated or dysregulated, or about all these things. It just didn't occur before. So
I don't think it's a I don't think I think it's good to have some, um, information on these things, but I think a lot of people get carried away and over-identify.
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just from the perspective of a person who is focused entirely on solution.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now it's just there's more problem to focus on, more
Mhm.
layers, more
Yeah,
angles of it. I'm like, okay, it
and
just
the good thing that I feel actually another good positive thing, is I've been feeling um more desire to simplify,
good.
getting back to basics here, intentions, sleep, good sleep, diet, exercise, healthy diet, exercise, um, and, having my care team here, which is I love you guys, you guys are great, but just living a little and applying a little more,
Good.
I feel like a little bit more ready for that. So kind of paring down a little bit on the carotene because when my mom passed away, um, I needed, a lot, a lot of like assistance here, a lot of care. And, throughout last year, I was like, okay, let's rearrange some things and, reschedule some things here. Um, and I'm feeling a little bit more of a like living, applying. Okay, I need a little guidance here, and a little, a little check in, a little check
That's how
in.
it works. That
Yeah,
is how it works. So,
yeah, yeah. But just like, I think even more so assistance, more of a cheerleading team now, not just care, but like more in the way of a cheerleading team
right.
uh, to help me keep me focused on creating, more of my creative powers, right? My power to create, that I do have that power, like more, um, what's it called? More magnifying of that, more, uh, I guess cheerleading. I don't know what's another word. More advocating for that,
Yeah.
It's like to keep focused on my creative abilities here,
Yeah.
my
Good.
co-creative abilities.
Good.
Um, the intent, and that a lot of it has to do with intentions, and I did start spanking new, like I said in my in the intention setting extravaganza on New Year's Eve. I I was having a hard time with the intentions that I've had for the past couple of years. I was,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
"Oh, let me upgrade, let me update them, let me go back," but I was like, "Why am I having a lot of resistance?" I tapped on it because I was like, "Why am I having a lot of resistance?" And then when another download
Yeah.
came in,
That's
and it was like, "How about you just start from scratch, like blank slate, and don't even look at the other ones until
right.
you started on this one." 'Cause you already had some ideas percolating,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And that felt good to me. I was like, "Oh, that's exciting,"
Yes. It's all
And you don't have to
be
worry
done.
about missing some lines from the
No.
ones before, because you can always go back and see like, "Hey, do I want a line from here? Okay, great. Shoot, great,
Yeah.
wonderful." But if I don't, I don't,
So where are you in that process in the last 3 weeks?
I'm still what I did, instead of just doing like one by one each category, I was actually getting my nails done, and I just started like on my notes app, and I just started writing lines that I've had percolating, that were just coming to me right then and
Yeah.
there. And each day so far, I've been adding stuff to that list. And then the next part is to organize it into different categories and stuff. But for right now, I just want to, anything that comes to me, especially if I have a contrast type of experience, what that can conjure up in terms of intention. So it's coming to me now. So I'm still
Good.
on a blank slate. Yeah, like blank.
All right.
Well, I'm not at a blank piece of paper. That's my starting point. And now I have like drafts
Yeah.
of things,
Beautiful.
and they're good. They're good.
Excellent.
They're good.
You're
So thank you so much, Stephen. I really
welcome.
appreciate this. It's been quite a bit of time since we've last
Yeah.
spoken, and now another two people added to the roster here. But um, yeah, it's been of a hell of a couple of months here, and the process is not linear.
It is not. No, it
Not
is.
linear whatsoever here. But it's okay. I'm flowing with it. So thank you for the being available for this check-in.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for the suggestion, the soul work. Uh,
Yeah. You know
you know,
where to find me if you want to do more.
yeah, no, because I didn't even think about that as being something to do, that I could do here. So that's a really great suggestion. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The next one, like we said in the beginning, come as needed, live a little, apply, align, live a little, apply, align, maybe check in. Hey, I need a little guidance here. I'm a little at a loss. So,
Well, and
be
again, I
determined.
think I said this a couple of months ago, and I'll say it again, just as another thing to do for you. Just look at your intentions again
Yeah.
for what you said they were a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
and pull those out again, and really just sort of calibrate to those. Is anything in there? Does it want to evolve or change or whatever? And where are you? Where, if at all, are you not aligned? That's what
Yeah,
the
I did have this in my new blank one, the one that I did without looking at the one that I've had, which is pretty good, but I was just kind of going along with what we have here.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's pretty good. It's like my relationship with my mother is more expansive and connected than ever before. I know for sure she is always present and guiding me toward living my best life. She and I communicate with ease. My relationship with her now transcends her physical presence, and it feels more powerful and magical.
So part of the practice, there's the intention shining and clear. We communicate with ease. That's not happening right now today. So even though right now, today, we're not, you know what I mean? So it's very targeted. It gets you back into more alignment with any or all of the aspects of it that we're misaligned with. That's just everyday practice.
Yeah, perfect.
Really good.
Well,
All right.
next one to be determined. But this one,
Well,
very great. Thank you so much, Steven.
you're
Steven,
welcome.
founder of Spiritual Workout, author of An Extra Year, Grief and Loss in the New Age. I think it's available on Amazon. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tech-
Okay,
there are
technically.
a few back end issues that are out of my control, but yeah.
But if you want to check Steven out, you can look over in the caption here over at spiritualworkout.com. There you'll see all the offerings that Spiritual Workout Online has for the public and for members. And once again, I'm Delilah De La Rosa signing out of this 28th session of Unconventional Wisdom on Grief and Loss. Or, in other words, spiritual workout for grief and loss. Thank you, Stephen. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye for now.